The internet had been laughing for a decade. They called him a meme, or relic, a movie guy playing a part he'd long since outgrown. On podcasts, young wrestlers men built like comic book heroes giggled about his run, his movies, his whole persona. To them, Steven Seagal was a ghost from a VHS tape, a story their fathers told. And then, WWE sent the invitation. Not for a match. Not for a Hall of Fame ring. For one last training session. It was framed as an honor. A gesture of respect. A legendary martial artist visiting the WWE Performance Center in Orlando to observe the next generation. But in the cold, fluorescent-lit hallways of the facility, the whispers told a different story. The invitation felt like a punchline in the making. A publicity stunt. The world had moved on. The fight game had changed. And the man who was once the undisputed icon of lethal force was about to walk, alone, into a room full of hungry lions who thought he was a myth. He arrived not with a film crew, but with a silence that seemed to suck the air out of the room. The sprawling WWE Performance Center, usually a chaotic symphony of grunts, crashing bodies, and shouted instructions, fell quiet. Young NXT hopefuls stopped their drills. They watched as the 7th Dan Aikido black belt, a man who became the first non-Japanese person to run a dojo in Japan, moved through their world. He wore a simple black silk jacket, his steps deliberate, his eyes scanning everything, absorbing the details. One brash and defeated rookie, a kid known for his arrogant promos, smirked at his partner. "Look," he muttered, just loud enough to be heard. "The museum just sent over a new exhibit." Seagal's eyes flickered towards the sound, held for a moment, and then moved on. He said nothing. He spent the day observing. He stood by the ropes of one of the 7 training rings, watching men and women half his age practice moves designed for spectacle, not survival. The head coach, a former champion himself, walked with him, pointing out the facility's state-of-the-art medical equipment and rehab center. Seagal just nodded, his face an unreadable mask. Later, sitting in an empty locker room, an old friend, now a senior producer, found him. "You don't have to be here for this," the friend said. "You don't have to let them treat you like this." For the first time all day, Seagal spoke, his voice a low gravel. "They forgot who I was," he trailed off, looking at his own hands, hands that had trained special forces and champions. The mockery wasn't an insult. It was a failure of memory. Comment below, is respect earned in the ring, or through a lifetime of mastery? I want to know what you think. To understand what happened next, you have to understand his past. This wasn't just an actor. This was a man who, as a young man, moved to Japan to immerse himself in the world of Aikido, studying under masters. This was a man who earned the rank of Shihan, or Master Instructor. He didn't just play a martial artist in movies, he brought the brutal efficiency of Aikido to the American screen for the first time. While others were learning scripts, he was teaching world-class MMA fighters like Lyoto Machida and Anderson Silva the subtleties of a perfectly timed front kick. His world was one of quiet dojos, of discipline, of a philosophy that teaches one to use an opponent's energy against them. It was a world away from the bright lights and catchphrases of sports entertainment. Backstage on Monday Night Raw, the air was electric. Rumors had spread that Seagal was in the building. No one knew why. The same young rookie who had mocked him at the Performance Center was in the ring, microphone in hand, soaking in the booze. He was on top of the world, undefeated, and he took a moment to address the rumors. "I hear there's some old movie star walking around backstage," he jeered. "Hey, old man, if you're listening, this is the future. Your time is done. Your martial art is a joke, and so are you." The crowd roared. But then, a change. The arena lights went black. A single, deep gong echoed through the darkness. The Titantron remained black. For 10 long seconds, there was only silence and darkness. Then, the words appeared in stark white letters, Steven Seagal. He emerged from the tunnel, not to rock music, but to a low, rhythmic beat of taiko drums. He wore the same black silk jacket. He walked down the ramp with that same deliberate and hurried pace. It wasn't a wrestler's entrance. It was a master entering his space. The crowd, a mix of confused millennials and older fans who shot to their feet in disbelief, began a low hum that grew into a roar of recognition. He wasn't there to wrestle. He was there to remind them. Smash that like button if you believe the old guard still has lessons to teach, and subscribe for more stories about the legends who built the code of combat. Seagal stepped through the ropes. The young wrestler, his bravado fading into visible unease, continued to shout, "What are you gonna do? You gonna try your little movie tricks on me?" Seagal didn't respond. He walked to the center of the ring, his eyes locked on the wrestler. A commentator whispered, "This ring remembers the old ways." Seagal stopped. He stood perfectly still, letting the insults, the boos, the entire chaotic energy of the arena wash over him. He never broke eye contact. Then, he did the one thing no one expected. Slowly, with immense purpose, he reached up and removed his yellow-tinted glasses. That was it. That was the action. The gesture silenced the building. It wasn't a threat. It was an awakening. The young star was left speechless, his face a mask of sudden, dawning realization. He had been loud. Seagal had been quiet. And in that moment, everyone knew which was more powerful. Sometimes, silence is louder than fists. In a world of fireworks and trash talk, a quiet man reminded everyone that presence, true presence, needs no volume. He didn't throw a punch. He didn't execute a throw. He simply held his ground, looked into the eye of the storm, and made the storm blink. They called him a joke. But in the end, by doing almost nothing, he showed them that the most dangerous man in the room is the one who doesn't need to prove it.